Hello, party people. Okay, here's how things are gonna go. I don't love the sound on my podcast again, and maybe, admittedly, I have slightly weird issues with sound, okay? But I don't like the sound issues on my podcast. If you've been listening from the very beginning, if you've been rocking with me from the very beginning, just know, 1, I love you. 2, you know that this podcast has come a long way in terms of sound production and like what it used to sound like swimming underwater versus what it sounds like now. So at the beginning of the year, I was like, I'm gonna start incorporating my videos onto YouTube, and then also eventually trying to move them onto the Spotify platform. That requires a level of audio editing expertise that I didn't feel confident about and still don't feel confident about, but I don't love how last week's episode turned out. So in addition to signing up for some online audio courses, because I've been just doing the free ones on YouTube, but like, let's just dive full send. I also want to try a method that I haven't really been a fan of, and so I'm looking for you guys' feedback. When you connect the microphone to the camera, I think the sound, in my opinion, is a little worse than if I was just recording with the sound on the camera, which, like, if you watch on YouTube, you know, isn't great, but it isn't unwatchable in terms of YouTube. And then I do the high level editing, and I really like how the sound is like 98% of the time on the podcast. So with syncing them, I'm hoping that it's a little easier. But like I said, this is an experiment. I'm looking for your feedback. I'm gonna put a little bloopers thing at the end of the YouTube video because I'm pretty sure I just got some great clips of me just like freaking the F out. And when I say I have sound issues, when I moved into that apartment like 4 apartments ago, my boyfriend thought I was losing my mind because I was convinced that it was louder in my living room than it was in my bedroom, and I just like had to know the difference. So I ordered one of those decibel machines, and I, at different points of the day, like in the morning, when I got home from work, at night, and then I would wake myself up at like maybe like 1 a.m. just measuring and collecting data. And then I was also like, and I can tell like when the SIPTA is coming because listen to the decibel thing. And he was like, I'm worried about you. Please stop running around through decibel machine. But it's only $11 on Amazon. But he says that was because I was convinced. I kept telling people like it's loud, and other people didn't think it was loud. And this goes back to the story that I told when I was like cutting off my parents' power because I thought the TV was being too loud, which it was. Okay. So I would like your honest feedback. You know where to find me on the internet. If you're listening to my podcast, you know where to find me. I need your honest feedback about the sound, because if this works, if this is successful, then this would be so much easier. It is so hard to record on video and then try to make it sync up on camera. It's not that enjoyable. And I'm trying to love the camera thing. Admittedly, I don't like it. It's been 9 months, maybe more like 8 months of doing this. And admittedly not super consistent on YouTube because I don't like the pressure. If I'm having a bad day from work, it's like, fuck, I have to make sure that I look like I can be on camera, right? Like if I go down, you can see like my bun's uneven. There's a little bump, so I'm just kind of, you know what I mean? Like it's sometimes it's like it's too much. And I really loved that I used to be able to sit like a hobbit and then like not have to worry about the background. And then like I'm so worried that Matthew's I don't know. This has just been 3 minutes of like you don't really want to hear this. But, and see, that's the thing about the Blue Yeti, because I can't connect to my Rode mic because the equipment did not come in yet. Nonetheless, I don't know, Paramore, I am working on it. We're going places, okay? I need your patience. This is a one-woman production, and this is a woman who works a full-time job. And a little bit more hours than that. Okay, where is I going with this? Something that makes me laugh is whenever I see people talk about kindergarten redshirting. So if you don't know what redshirting is for kindergarten, in America, kindergarten students is like the first level of public school. So it's like considered the first level of school because in America, like any pre-kindergarten programs or pre-K or preschool isn't federally funded like not comprehensively. Funding varies by state, but once you're 5, you kind of have to be enrolled in some sort of school system where your parents have to say they're homeschooling you. So redshirting is when you take a 5-year-old who would have gone into kindergarten that year and you hold them back so that they'll be 6 for the majority of their kindergarten year. And there are different reasons to redshirt. I know I've talked about this before, but I used to work at a daycare, and while I was primarily based in the toddler room, like in the probably like 3-4 times a week I would work with the pre-K room in the afternoon. And so there are reasons to, like, sometimes 5-year-olds just aren't ready for kindergarten. Ages now, like the difference between 28 and 27, not a big deal. Ages when you've like just, you know, you've mastered potty training, but like you're still susceptible to having accidents. Like I remember there was a kid in my daycare, we'll call him like Danny, and he had the fine motor skills, which like people don't think about fine motor skills, but it's things like being able to hold a pencil, being able to like cut with scissors, being able to use your hands, like all the things we take for granted that you literally have to teach to a brand new speaking human. And Danny had the fine motor skills, he had the reading skills, but he was really, really emotionally immature, and he wouldn't have thrived in a kindergarten environment. He really like needed the preschool environment to sort of like hammer it in, whereas there was a 4-year-old, a little girl, we'll call her like Zella, and Zella technically she was at like the cutoff. Different school districts have different cutoffs for, you know, kids are born in the summer, so it depends on when you're 5. Sometimes if you turn 5 a little after the cutoff, like they'll test you, and so she did the testing and she was fine to turn like 5, you know, a few weeks after kindergarten started. It really does depend on the kid. I'm not talking about any of the reasons to redshirt. I am talking about, I went to a school district that was very notorious for redshirting boys for sports. So that's when your parents hold you back from starting kindergarten as you normally would, with the explicit intention that they're going to put you into sports and you'll have an advantage over your peers because you're in the same like grade range, but you're a year older. Now, I think this works a little differently with kids' sports now. I'm 28, so this was going on like, you know, 28, 30 some years ago. Because you used to do sports by grade, and I think now they do it more so by age because these redshirting parents. But nonetheless, when I was in high school, there was this effect. And mind you, I went to a high school where there were like 800 kids per grade. There was this effect where there were a lot of older boys, and then girls were mostly normally aged because people didn't redshirt their girls for sports. There were always like a couple of girls who were, you know, older because they repeated a grade or because they got held back in kindergarten, like that sort of normal thing. But overwhelmingly, there were a lot of boys my senior year of high school who were 19, and it was very, very, very funny watching them. And I remember I had a good friend at the time. We do not speak now. Why would you need to know that? If you're wondering what's the gossip on that, ended up being a terrible person. Yeah. Oh yeah, but he was a 19-year-old our senior year, and then mind you, like my birthday is June 5th. So I turned 18 my last day of high school, and I remember when my parents tried to put me, well, I don't remember this, but apparently when my parents tried to put me in that school district, because so many kids redshirted, because so many parents redshirted their kids for sports, the school district would try to encourage like the entire population to be older. So they would encourage June, July, August, and September birthdays to hold back the next year. So I had friends in the grade below me who had the same birthday or were older than me, but the school district had pressured their parents into holding them back. It was very weird. And if you're like, oh, is that common in Pittsburgh? No, it was like my school district that I went to for high school, and then a couple of other surrounding districts, but like the Pittsburgh public schools did not do that. So it just made for a weird sort of dynamic. Anyway, the point of me saying this is when you have 19-year-olds in the grade and they're grown as the fuck, things get a little strange because I think it's much harder to get a grown adult to do like homework. And it also made me laugh because the vast majority of people whose parents redshirted them, like they weren't exemplary at sports. It certainly gives you an advantage to be like a 9-year-old competing with 8-year-olds. But after puberty, things sort of, I don't want to say even out, but the advantage that you would have playing like pee-wee football and being a year older isn't as pronounced, especially since, again, they're redshirting 5-year-olds. There is no guarantee how tall your 5-year-old's going to be, how muscly they're going to be. And again, that dynamic of like the boys being older, like that made for weird dating things. Like I remember there was a guy that I wanted to go on dates with, and my parents found out he was 19, and they're like, "You're 17. Like, I get that you're in the same grade, but also," they were like, "You're not on that kind of speed." And I was also kind of like a late bloomer. Not that I'm saying that like 17 and 19 is inherently weird, but for where I was at 17 and for where that kid was at 19, might as well have been two different worlds, even though we were in the same class. And so it was very bizarre. And I wonder if these parents, when they talk about kindergarten or like holding their kid back for kindergarten, realize how weird it is. And then those kids go to college, and like college, again, you get thrown in with their 17-year-olds starting college, their 20-something starting college. It's not as pronounced, and it's not as big of a deal, but like it's weird that you're, you know, a couple years away from drinking, and you still have a high school curfew. And there are a lot of things about high school that don't make sense. I feel like there's the obvious things that people point out, but then there was also the thing at my school where like we had to, like, I was getting on the bus at 5:10 in the morning one year, and then the next year they pushed it back to like catching the bus at 5:40, and I thought that was so exemplary. And I didn't get back from school until like 3:45, so just spending a huge chunk of my day in this prison-like building that continues to haunt my nightmares. Anyway, to get into the real meat and potatoes of it all, I wanted to talk about a TikTok controversy. I have not been spending as much time on TikTok because it is basically, I feel like the platform is no longer usable simply because of TikTok Shop. And I have been a long time, like, I think there's only but so much that an influencer can influence me. Like, I have always been very, I don't know, my friends will send me things to do and they're like, I saw it on TikTok. And I'm like, okay, but like, what are the person's credentials for recommending it? You know, because TikTok is the type of place where someone will be like, come with me on a run to go running in the cold. And then they'll be like, yeah, this is my first time running in the winter. Here's my guide on how to do it. And it's like, no, you've only done this like once. Like, you're not an expert by any means. And it's also, I think, the rise of what I consider to just be very like brain dead content. And I'm not talking about like brain rot. Like, there's just something about that aesthetic where it's like day in the life and it's not particularly interesting. It's the same aesthetic, the same shots, the same apartment, or I can tell that you're trying to make your apartment look like a top influencers who, like, maybe that is that top influencers are organically her, but like you're just reheating nachos. That's what I'm trying to say. A lot of the aesthetic content on TikTok is just reheating nachos. And so I've never wanted to like shop my link from, I don't know, people with reheated nachos, you know what I mean? Like, I've just never, and I also think that the best place you can get product advice is Reddit, but like the TikTok Shop has really, like, everyone is trying their hand at marketing. It's like a 7th grade assignment where we're all trying to get like points on, you know, how to sell this product, and it's just getting out of control. And then it's also getting really sexually explicit. Like, I saw a nude woman in lingerie, and I'm not saying it like that's the worst thing to see, but this is a platform where, like, when I had a series like maybe a year and a half ago where I was talking about Taz's Angels. If you don't know who they are, they were a group of ladies of the night who were in Miami and got really popular on Snapchat. And they, like, so many of those videos got taken down that it wasn't worth it to pursue the series because I was getting so many strikes on my account and I was going to lose it. But this girl can be like basically naked. I was like, what? It's so crazy because it's TikTok Shop, and as long as you say that you're trying to sell something on TikTok Shop, like, TikTok will let you get away with anything, and it's just becoming unusable. And it's like weird medical stuff or shitty products that won't work. Like, that little robe from TikTok Shop is gonna fall apart in like 6 months, baby. It's not going to last a long. It's not gonna be here. Even 6 months is honestly pushing it too much. It's a bit too generous. But there was something that really intrigued me. So there's a creator named Danielle Walters, and she is a 30-something-year-old, I think she's like early to mid-30s, dating creator in San Francisco, or maybe the Bay Area, somewhere in California. And she makes a lot of content about how she's been pretty unsuccessful in finding love. And just to go back on my rant, I don't think, getting a boyfriend or a girlfriend is an indication of being a good person. Love is one of the very few things in life where it's not, like, the amount of effort you put into it does not yield a product. You can put no effort into finding your significant other and bump into them on the street because it's all luck. You can put hours of your life and years into your life and dating and having really good standards and doing all the work, and you do work on yourself and you are a well-rounded person, you're a great person, but you just haven't had the luck to meet your person. And I think if people stop treating like getting a boyfriend or a girlfriend as being a mark of a really good person, people would be less hype about it. Well, no, they wouldn't, because love is a very treasured thing and it's so personal that people don't want to have rational conversations. Like, I remember how angry people were at former podcast episodes, or when I talked about them on TikTok, when I said that, like, it's mostly luck. There are things you can do to maximize your odds. Like, if you're queer, you should live in a city with other queer people so that you can meet people to date. If you're single, don't live in a community that's explicitly all married people. But fundamentally, you can do all those things and you can still have the luck to not meet your person. And I always find that comforting when I was single, because it reassured me that, like, it's not me. Sometimes these things just don't have anything to do with me. But some people really don't like the idea that's such a big part of your life that so many people crave and is part of the human experience is fundamentally out of your control, right? It's like when you try to tell them that bad things can happen to you, even though you do everything right. Like, the car accident analogy, you can wear your seatbelt, you can drive the right speed, you can drive a very safe car, but if a semi hits you the wrong way, like, you are going to flip over and you are going to die, and that's just kind of the end of your life. People who eat healthy and they work out and they address all their traumas, they still get cancer and die early. And some people who eat like shit and smoke their entire life and do crack live for a very long time. Sometimes it's just how things shake out. We have no control over that, but people try to exert this weird sense of control. And I think control issues are really at play into the response with Danielle, because she recently announced, for like the past couple weeks, that she's been going on dates with this guy and she really, really likes him. She's been seeing him for a few months and she continuously refers to him as her future husband. And she says, like, I know we're going to get married. She introduced him to her parents as my future husband, but then it comes out in the most recent video that she uploaded that he hasn't yet asked her to be her girlfriend, because she's doing a get ready with me for the date where I think he's going to ask me to be his girlfriend. And this caused a lot of backlash. People are like, you're introducing him to your parents, but he's not your boyfriend, which I don't think is abnormal. But they're like, you're calling him your future husband, and like, that's wrong. And people are getting so worked up and angry, and they're like, this must be rage bait, like, you're a terrible person, they're like, you're doing things wrong. And I think it really highlights this emotional intimacy crisis, and the way that in an effort for people to protect themselves from hurt in dating, they kind of dulled what dating is. Danielle obviously inspires something extremely parasocial in people, right? Like, it seems to be lost on the people criticizing her that if this whole thing doesn't work out, if calling a man that you've only known for like, I think 2 months max, your future husband, and meeting all his friends and family, and he meets all your friends and family and doing this like whirlwind romance, but he still hasn't officially asked you to be his girlfriend, which I did watch the entire video. She said that she had like a strict 3-month rule, but that she likes him so much she's willing to compromise on 2. And so she wanted him to put effort into the asking. She wants it to feel like a big proposal and a big to-do. So, I mean, it seems like, if her version of events is correct, that they are dating technically, but she just has like a weird thing about how she wants to be referred to as a girlfriend, which is totally, I mean, it's your life. You make up whatever rules you want. It's not hurting anyone, right? And that seems to be lost on people, that like the only person who's going to get hurt in this situation is Danielle. Like, you, just by watching it and finding it cringy, like, that is not actually having a detrimental impact on your life. It's not hurting you in any way. But it also triggers this instinct that I found so frustrating my entire life when I was dating, which is people set up so many rules to not get hurt that there's no intimacy. There's just no way to have a genuine connection with another person that's not vulnerable, right? Like, whenever people talk about like dating in terms of being like, this is how you approach dating in Q4, and this is how you approach dating in like Q1, and like, is there a synergy, right? Like, you're talking about it like it's a corporate meeting. I don't know what any of those words mean, but when you're talking about it like it's a corporate meeting, or like, are there characteristics like this box, and you're just talking about it like it's all very humdrum and routine, like, that is just not how love works. Like, I can appreciate, to me, a real lover girl whether that's a man or a woman, or, you know, someone who doesn't fall within the gender binary. To me, a real lover girl is someone who, like, loves without the consequence, like, without fear of, is this going to work out, but just loves for the fuck of it. Like, I love meeting a friend once and they're like, you know what, like, I love you. And it's like, yeah, I love you too. Let's hang out again, you know? Also, what's your last name and what's your birthday? Like, love should be free flowing. Love should be given. And I know that this is the part where people get so, and they're like, but you can get hurt. And like, again, you can do everything the right way in a relationship and it can totally kerplunk in your face. Like, there is nothing in this world is going to keep you from being hurt other than staying in your house all the time. And that loneliness of not interacting with anyone or not putting yourself out there, being vulnerable, will just bring on a deeper type of pain that, as you know, sort of become more and more comfortable as a recluse, will be harder to sort of massage through that scar tissue. You know, you've keloided up into a cocoon. You're gonna have to get surgery to excise that. It's gonna be quite painful to work through that, or you just not put yourself in that situation and sort of undeal with the uncomfortable little scrapes that is not having your way all the time with the people you interact with, right? And that's the thing that kind of blows my mind. Like, heartbreak will not kill you, especially the type of petite heartbreak that comes from just dating situations not working out. I get it. Your long-term significant other, or it's your first heartbreak, or you're going through divorce, like, that can be profoundly painful. That can be life-alteringly painful. That can put you into therapy, whatever. But sometimes the way that people react when they're like, oh, I was dating someone for 6 weeks and, like, you know, I just don't want to be exclusive because, like, it's going to hurt so bad when it breaks up. It's like, it's going to hurt for like 3 weeks, but you will survive this. Like, if you've ever survived a cataclysmic breakup or like sort of an atomic bomb to your life of a love thing, I feel like you should walk away from that with the perspective that this is not going to end my life, that like you do get better. Like, yes, for many nights, many weeks, many months even, you may cry yourself to sleep. You will eventually get over that though, like, and it will not kill you, and you will probably have gotten hotter in the process. Everyone I know gets hotter during a breakup. So really, nothing to lose, everything to gain, right? You can't avoid pain in life. You know what I mean? It's like if someone said, like, I want to get gains at the gym, but I just don't want to do the uncomfortable part of like working out because that part sucks. Then, you know, everyone would look at you like you're nuts and be like, well, I mean, you have to hurt your muscles a little bit to grow your muscles. You know, I don't know if that's an exact analogy, but you get where I'm going with this. All of these rules and these walls to have these very dulled connections, and you cannot have an emotional connection with someone who's too afraid to like put themselves in there. I know I'm not the first person to say this. I just really had to rant about this today. I'm bringing it back to that TikTok creator, don't worry. But it's just something very, I don't know, like, it's not the worst heartbreak in the world for you to be hiding from. And also, people treat, like, the couple episodes when I said it's just not that serious, like, people treating boyfriend, girlfriend like a blood oath. Like, it's actually not humiliating to post someone on your Instagram feed and then just take them down. Do you know how many times I've done that? Like, yeah. Dude, at least 5 people have been posted on my Instagram and then I just took them down when we broke up. It has never killed anyone. If anything, it's a bit of mystery. Who cares? You know, and this was before the days when Instagram, I guess I just learned this recently, you can like edit your Instagram and take those photos out. Someday someone remind me to do an episode of what it was like not having social media for years and years and years, because that's a fun fact. I used to be very anti-social media, and then I made social media again because I was blowing up on TikTok, and I was like, well, I should make another place for people to find me. And then that, so, like, do I ever post on Instagram? I'm trying. I'm working on it, you know. I did post a selfie, if you want to go like it. I look really good.
This page on the camera. Select audio.
What the hell is that?
And increase or decrease.
Oh my god.
And prevent any audio.
This YouTube video, that scared the fuck out of me. The YouTube video that I was watching to teach me to go over the camera thing. Again, I have like a list of bookmarks. I guess I accidentally clicked the bookmark and it popped back up. I thought there was a man in my house and I thought that I was gonna have to go get, I don't know, something to get them away. But then I also just kind of froze up like a possum. But yeah, people are projecting this whole thing of like she's doing it wrong, but the worst thing that can happen like, if the worst thing that happens in dating is just doesn't work out and you cry for a little bit, like, there are much worse things that can happen to you, you know? So it's so fascinating watch people flip out every time they watch someone do quote unquote the wrong thing. And it's not because that person's in danger. It's not because that person is like harming others. It's just because someone is taking a risk that they would feel personally uncomfortable with. Like, at the root of all these TikTok videos where people are like breaking down, when I say breaking down, like, they're making like 7, 8, 9, 10-minute videos talking about this girl and being like, she's so desperate for attention and visibility. I mean, love is a very natural thing to be desperate for. I also never understood that thing where it's like they're so desperate to want to be loved. Every atom in your being is kind of designed to make you like a social mammal, and love is part of that. Like, I know I said this in my earliest episodes, but I'm bringing it back, that we are programmed to receive different kinds of love. Yes, platonic love is important. Yes, familial love is important, but romantic love is important for many, many people. Most people want romantic love, and I think it's fine to acknowledge that, like, maybe that can't be a priority for me. Maybe I don't handle myself correctly. Maybe the way that I've been socialized as a woman in particular has made me sort of want romantic love in this version that's not very healthy for me, to the detriment of my own well-being. I get it, but to say that like humans do not want that type of love in the first place, to me, it's just absurd. I do not believe you. And so I've never understood this like harsh judgment for people who are like, she wants to be loved so bad. And it's like, oh, I mean, yeah, who doesn't? It's very nice to have a consistent, reliable person or multiple people, which my thing about polyamory, I'm not against polyamory, but my question is, I guess, how do you build a life where you treat all your partners as equal? Like, I know, because I watch a lot of videos on polyamory because I find it very fascinating, right? Where people talk about like trying to do non-hierarchical polyamory, because I do think, like, I think if I was trying to date someone and I know they had other partners and they had a wife and that person always came before me, then I would just kind of be like, well, what are the, like, how deep can this relationship go? But then my thing is like, how the logistics of it. I'm not talking about living with someone. I'm just talking about like, how do you divvy up those intimate moments without feeling like it's being split into pieces? But then I just have controversial opinions on that, because this relates back to my views on child custody. If there is one opinion that I know is my most inflammatory, it is my opinion on the child custody system in America. I do not believe that a child's life can be apportioned like a pizza to satisfy the parents. I think the child welfare system, or not that type of child welfare, but the child custody system, as is being approached by many courts today, it does so in a way that is inadvertently bad for the child, because while, yes, I do think it's important that children see both of their parents, I think the inconvenience of seeing both parents should not be borne by the child, who's often shuttled from like one location to another, one life to another, often between two parties who are not adult enough to sort of reconcile together. And for all the people whose parents co-parent beautifully, just know that you have a beautiful fucking gift. Never take that for granted. Because I know so many people, myself included, obviously, there's no way that I would just randomly be passionate about this for no reason, who, like, it's annoying to go from house to house, and it's like, did the court consider that, like, maybe the person who should be inconvenienced every other Wednesday is, like, my adult parent? You know, like, the Allegheny County, where I grew up, had put a lot of kids on divorce in the same divorce schedule, and so you could tell who was on that schedule because everyone would bring like their bags that they needed to transport from mom and dad's house, and there was a room in my high school for those kids to like put all of our stuff in. I fear that the inconvenience was being borne by the wrong person. When I say that you can't apportion a child's life, like, I think, to me, the ideal child custody situation is where the kid gets to maintain a stable environment and mom and dad come in and out. And people don't like that because people are like, well, I don't want to, you know, with my ex, I don't want to see them, blah, 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 blah. And like, I fear that unless your ex is like a dangerous person to the child, you might just kind of have to suck that up for 18 years, or at least. Also, I think teens should be able to decide who they want to live with. Anyway, every time I say that around people who have kids in the child custody agreement, everyone gets pissed. Will not change my mind though. Like, I could go more in depth, right? When I say that it prioritizes the parent's comfort, often the focus is about like jointness, like with joint custody and equality and giving parents equal time. And it doesn't take into account like how that affects, the child's school, how that affects the child's after school activities, their social life, right? Because it gets to a point where it's like, well, the best thing for my child is to be around their mom or their dad. And it's like, yeah, but the best thing for your child is to also feel like their life is their own and not sort of a pissing contest between two people. Can you tell that I have some serious feelings about this? Obviously. And my parents watch this, but I've told them all this to their face. It was a ridiculous thing to do. I don't know, and I was always just I remember my friend in high school, I had a couple, I had two, so that's a couple. Two friends in high school they lived in the house and their parents came in and out, and genius. Everything of theirs was the same since they were kids. It was just kind of the adult that changed. And I was like, huh. And then people are like, that's expensive. Well, I don't know how to reconcile that with you. Anyway, leave your feedback on the sound. I am hoping that when I edit this is not a complete and utter shit show, or I am going to bounce through the walls, but hopefully this marks a new improvement for the ease of how I can do things. Because, oh my God, it is so hard to do them separately. And I just don't have the technology skills. You're talking to someone who, oh my God, like I don't even know how to work my iPhone, dude. The iPhone updates, and I had to go to the Apple store a few months ago and be like, can you make it go back? Technologically incompetent as fuck. As always, thank you so much for listening. I love you so much. See you next week. And I hope to have that longer form research episode out. I know it's taking a while. What can I say? I have been working a lot. Okay, love you. Bye.